If you've had the pleasure of existing on the internet lately, then you might have come across some articles or videos about the latest in the long line of Pokemon mobile games, this time with the Pokemon trading card game Pocket. And if you are the kind of person that has held off on this title so far, but has finally broken down under the pressure of no one else being able to shut up about it, then you're probably also the kind of person who's wondering what the hell this is even all about, if this is actually a good game, and what on earth would ever motivate someone to use this background color and include no dark modes. And hopefully I'll answer at least some of those questions today. First off, you might be wondering, a Pokemon card game on mobile? Didn't they already make one of those? And yes, you wouldn't be wrong. The difference this time around is more of a focus on collecting rather than battling, even if battling is still very much a thing, which I'll get more into later, while the old game was more centered around bringing the hardcore PC and console experience to mobile. Also, from most reports, the old game just wasn't very good. From a technical standpoint, that is, the gameplay was probably fine. So I can understand it if they also wanted to see what they could do with a completely clean slate. When you first download the app, you're greeted with tutorials teaching you how to navigate the UI and open the various booster packs. And to its credit, opening packs is as satisfying as it's ever been here. It's clear a lot of effort was spent on this part of the experience, which makes sense as it serves as the glue that ties everything else together. And this is where the game shines the most, I'd say. You can even open the packs backwards if you prefer, which feels unnecessarily extra, but in the best way. Now, after opening some packs, ideally the goal would be to get enough cards to throw together a deck and then bravely go out and challenge the world. And probably get your Rattatas murdered by some random 14-year-old and their double Mewtwo deck, but that's just life. But before we can even get there, we already have to overcome my first minor frustration with the app, which are the many lengthy tutorials. A staple of mobile gacha games, which this very much is, sorry for the spoiler, are the excessive, way too complicated menus and the many different currencies. And in the fear you might miss out on any, the developers made sure to add an unskippable tutorial for every single one of them, teaching you vital skills like waiting for 12 hours to open a pack, or clicking the button not to wait for 12 hours to open a pack, until that button starts costing money, at which point it's back to waiting again. And I understand they don't want people to miss out on any core systems, but a skip button for anyone who feels like they can probably figure this stuff out on their own would be appreciated. It's a one-time thing, of course, so not ultimately a big problem, but it always feels a bit strange to spend so long explaining the shop and benefits of spending money before you've even had the chance to play the game yet. Which then neatly brings us onto the question of monetization. And like many of the previous Pokemon mobile games, as you might imagine, the monetization here is about as bad as they come. The first thing you notice is the monthly subscription, which gives you access to some smaller perks as well as an extra pack to open every day. And while it's pricey, and I question if it actually makes that much sense for the amount of money spent, it's not by itself the biggest problem. Lots of great games have similar passes. The important thing is that you're somewhat limited in how much you can spend. And while it definitely gives an advantage, it at least puts a natural cap on the advantage someone can earn, to some extent. And a couple of extra packs might not be the deal breaker if your opponent is just a lot better than you. But, as you might imagine, it doesn't stop there. All the usual suspects are here actually, and there's little holding back. Have fun with God knows how many different currencies, timers to wait for, more currencies to speed up the waiting, other currencies to speed up the earning of those currencies, and like 10 others I forgot as soon as their respective tutorials ended. And at the center of it all, there's the shop, with convenient purchases you can make in some completely separate currency altogether. And it's structured like this, of course, to make everything as confusing as possible, and to make it hard to understand what you're even paying money for, or how much a specific thing actually costs. And sure, you could probably draw some parallels between this and going to the shop to buy booster packs back in the day. And while I don't hate that comparison, at least back then you had to actually get into your car and drive to the shop to buy the booster packs. And they might look a bit strangely at you if you try to empty out their entire weekly supply. Compare that with how it works today, and the restrictions aren't quite as robust. And if you're generally weak with this sort of stuff, take my advice and just stay away. That all being said, if I absolutely hated this thing, I probably wouldn't be making this video at all. Similar to mobile Pokemon games of the past, what makes Nintendo different is that underneath their absolute garbage monetization, they usually have the decency to bury a good game as well. And that's no different this time around. Believe it or not, but I did actually enjoy my time with the game, and I did so without buying anything at all. And that's more than I can say for most games of this kind, which usually forget to put in the entire decent game part altogether. The drops of free packs, at least early on, are quite generous, and for the amount of time I spent on it, I never felt the need to pay anything to open more packs. And while I'm not certain you can stay super competitive in the long run playing for free, that's not that different from the Pokemon TCG as a whole, whether you're playing on PC or in person. Like most card games, this one is just kinda expensive to play. And similar to past Pokemon mobile games, the core game here is very fun. I mean, with some minor adjustments, it's the Pokemon trading card game. The physical card game still has a large following, and they play in tournaments every year. So if you've liked the TCG in the past, I'd say you're probably going to like it here too. They have changed a couple of things though. For example, in the classic version, the amount of Pokemon you have to knock out is a bit higher, and you can also have more Pokemon in play at the same time. I think these changes make sense for the most part, as it helps to speed up the rounds, which works well for a mobile-only version of the game. But I'm not sure I like all of the changes as much. The amount of options available to the player going first has shrunk, for example. So now, going first generally feels a lot worse than going second. Traditionally, energies have also been cards you have to have in your deck, same as your Pokemon or item cards. Whereas here, energies are just a button you can press at the bottom of your screen at any time. Now, I might be in the minority here, but I kinda liked having to balance the ratio of monsters and energies. It felt like another avenue through which you could customize your deck. So I'm sad that a bit of strategy is gone here. But for the most part, they've done a fine job streamlining the game here, I think. So, where does that leave us then? Is this a game you should check out? I'm not sure I'll ever truly recommend a game that looks like this, if I'm being honest. There's a lot of disappointment here on my end, as a lot of care clearly went into this project, and there's no reason it had to feel this gross in terms of its monetization. Ultimately, I feel pretty similar to how I felt about Pokemon Unite, which was the Pokemon Company's last mobile game to get this kind of attention. If you don't mind the games with this type of monetization, this is probably one of the better games to have them. Not because they're truly better here, they're really not, but rather because while buying power is very much possible, there's still some real skill expression and player choice underneath it all. Even if you might be missing some cards from the perfectly optimized deck that one guy posted on Reddit or whatever. And if you just want to collect the cards, then hey, I had a good time. But if you're anyone who normally struggles with these kind of monetization systems, or you're a kid, honestly, just check out like any of the other games on this channel. Or just dig out your old Pokemon cards from the chest in the basement or something. This one is just not worth it.